You're watching Thurber-I TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Jason J. Tavares Show for right-brained entertainers. My guest today is Dylan McConaghy. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
And before I introduce my guest and what he does, I'm going to discuss this. I brought in a rubber brain. Looks like a pig nose from the back. It's not a pig nose. It's a rubber brain. It's a right-brained show. The right side of your brain is creativity. So I brought this in because a lot of people ask, why is it called right-brained? Your right side of your head is creativity. That's the right side of your head. Enough about that. Now I'd like to discuss this shirt and the glasses. Our show today is going to be about coins and diamonds. Every day we buy stuff. We have coins in our pocket. We go buy things. A lot of people don't stop and take the time to look to see what's actually in your pocket. And Dylan's going to help us out with that today. You can save a lot of money in Rhode Island and anywhere. If you go to a thrift store, I'm not going to say a thrift store's name, but if you go to one, a yard sale, whatever. I'm wearing today Arnold Schwarzenegger type sunglasses I got for like $1, and a shirt that I definitely washed that I got at a thrift store for $1.50. So I have a cool outfit on for $2.50, and I don't go to a gym. I work out at home. And if you guys watch this show on YouTube, you don't spend any money. That's all free. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 free things. And now I'm going to hand it over to Dylan. He's going to show us even more ways to make money and to get free stuff, basically, because you make money off your money, right?
Exactly.
And he's going to teach us how to do that with stuff that passes through our pockets every day. So over to Dylan. Thanks for coming in today. Appreciate it.
No problem. Appreciate you having me here today.
Oh, not a problem.
Alrighty. So to start it off, people normally just see their change, they spend it, they throw it in a change jar, they don't think much of it, but not too many people know that before 1964 and back, quarters, dimes, half dollars were all made out of 90% silver, which with today's silver market is worth a lot more than the face value. So if you do go through your change and look at that, you can make a pretty penny off of just your pocket change.
So you're talking about not change I go buy at like a coin place. This is everyday money.
Yeah. I have plenty of people who come into me and they say they just have me check it out because they don't know themselves. Yep. And I've had people come in and they just say, oh, I've had the shark coins laying around, and they're about to go dump it in and just cash it in for regular currency. And I pull out a handful of silver coins, and what would have been maybe $50 in normal money ends up being a few $100s in silver value.
Wow. So like a lot of people save, I mean, I used to do it. I'd save a big jug of coins, and I'd say, oh, I'm going to take this and go on vacation and do this and that. So I could have had all that money and thought I had 400, but I actually had maybe 800.
Yeah.
If I was only smart with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's a way to find out, let's say I've never looked at coins, and I'm just going through my change. I know you mentioned briefly at the beginning what to look for. Let's say I had a handful of coins right now, and I don't know anything about it. What could I look for specifically?
Well, the easiest way to tell with the dimes, quarters, and halves is if you look at the sides of them. If you get them like in a roll, look at the sides of them. They will not have the copper line like you see in all the newer coins today. Mm-hmm. It'll just look like straight silver all the way through. Also, like I said, if it's 1964 or before, then it's guaranteed 90% silver. But there's an exception to that, because when they were going to do away with backing our money with silver, a few people complained, and in 1965 to 1970, they did the half dollars, the 50-cent pieces, out of 40% silver. They're not quite have as much silver as the 90%ers, but they're still more than the face value.
Nice. So this is a right-brained show, as everybody knows. This is a right-brained way that Dylan's explaining to make money. You're making money now, if you're smart, off of your own money, off your own pocket change.
Exactly.
So if I'm going through my change and I find a quarter that's 1944, I find a dime that's 1963, and I find a nickel that's between, what, 1942 and 1945, right?
Half of 1942 to 1945, yes.
Wow. So I get some money sitting there.
Yep.
And if I duplicate that process 1,000 times, I have a lot of money.
Yep.
Awesome.
And like I told you before, I have a lot of friends who go to the bank. They ask for hand-rolled change because some people, they don't know that there's silver in the coins, and they just turn them over to the bank for regular money. And like I said, a lot of my friends will go around and ask for that hand-rolled change. They'll pull them out quick, see the silver ones, keep the silver ones, put the regular ones back, and just put their money back in, and they got the silver for, like you said, nothing, basically.
And it becomes a habit.
Yes.
Because I've actually,
Yes.
myself, I walked into a wall once. I was counting my change, and I had found an old penny, actually, and I think 2 or 3 other old coins. And I was like, geez, just in a small handful. I walked into a wall and dropped it, and these people are looking at me like, wow, look at this guy. But they probably thought I was so discombobulated, but I was actually happy over what I found, because I knew what I was looking at.
Exactly.
Now, let me ask you this. With the coins, the pennies, now if you found, let's say you had a roll of 50 pennies, what's something to look for with a penny? Because pennies, there's no silver in a penny, of course, right?
No, there is the wheatback pennies, which is 1959 and before. But within the wheat series, it was from 1909 to 1959.
Yep.
And, excuse me, there's a lot of coins that can be very valuable in that series.
54 to 59.
1909 to
1909 to 59,
yeah.
okay.
And those have the wheat ears on the back. I'm sure plenty of people have seen those before, yeah. And those can be very valuable. Like the early ones, the 1909, there was the 1909 VDB, which is Victor David Branner. He was the designer of the coin, and he had put his initials on a few of the coins. That adds the value. But if you have the 1909S, the S means that it was minted in San Francisco. He didn't put as many of his initials on as many of those coins, and those are worth big money. Depending on the condition that you get them in, they can be potentially thousands of dollars.
Now, you had told me something last time we spoke about a 43 copper.
Yep.
What can you tell me about that?
So in 1943, when we were that was in the middle of World War II, they needed the copper for bullets and stuff like that, so they started making the pennies out of steel. And that's actually, the 1943 steel cent is the only U.S. coin that will stick to a magnet. But there was a very limited number that they made out of copper. And if you have a true 1943 copper penny, it's potentially millions of dollars.
Now, you brought one of those for me today for being on the show, right? I actually have, I'd say, 7 or 8 1943D medals. I think I told you about the brown one I found.
Yeah.
I had no magnet anywhere. I get home, and it stuck to a magnet, and I was like, I thought I was retired.
Well, that's because of Rhode Island. We had a lot of jewelry and a lot of machinists. They do a lot of things. People would plate them. That was the one that you had. It's plated. That's how you could tell with the magnet. But also, Rhode Island had a lot of machine shops back in the day, and they used to take a 1948 and cut the 8 in half. But you could tell because the 3 has a longer serif that comes down on the bottom.
I have a couple of those. Now, is that worth anything for being manipulated or no?
It's technically considered a counterfeit, but people do still keep them as a novelty, so they do have some value, and it is just interesting to have.
Now, what about a letter, like you mentioned, 1943D? For those people at home, when you look, if you pull your coins out of your pocket, if you look at a penny, let's say it said 1929, 1930, whatever, there's a letter underneath it. What does the letter mean?
There will be a D or S on the pennies, and like I said, there is a Philadelphia mint, but for the Philadelphia mints, they never put a mint mark except for the silver nickels like we were talking about. But the P is the Philadelphia mint, but it'll be blank. The D is the Denver mint, and the S is the San Francisco mint.
And that's on a nickel?
That's on every coin.
Now, if I'm looking at a nickel, where do I find the mint mark? I know on the penny it's under the date.
On the silver nickels, which is half of 1942 to 1945, if you flip the coin over to the reverse, on the if you look at the Monticello building, on the top of it at about the 12 o'clock position, there will be a P, D, or an S, and that's how you could tell if it's a silver one or not.
Now, when you, let's say, it's probably maybe a silly question, but when you drop these coins, is there a different sound?
The
another coin?
nickels, not so much because they're a much lower silver content. But the 90% silver coins, when you drop them, they definitely have a different sound.
Yep.
Another way to do it is if you get $50 a little bit easier. You balance it like on your finger.
Yep.
Take another piece of silver that you know is silver, and you lightly tap it, and it'll have a nice high-pitched ring that holds.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. Morgan silver dollars. Those aren't very common. I mean, did you bring one of those with you today?
Yep.
Nice. Can you hold that up to the light so they can see that?
Yeah, that was one right
This one
there.
over here?
Yeah.
That's a nice coin.
Yeah, this one is an 1886. It's plain Philadelphia. But yeah, that's that one. And this is when our money was actually backed by silver. Some people might know what the silver certificate is, and I brought one of those as well. So this is a silver certificate right here. This is when our money was actually backed by silver. Now you would take this, it says right here, silver certificate. This it says that $1 silver payable to the bearer on demand. So you would bring this to the bank and you would tell them, I want $1 worth of silver, which they would either give you 4 quarters, 10 dimes, whatever it is, or one of these. And that's what was
People carried
truly
a bag back then instead of a pocket, because
Yes.
those things, your pants would fall down.
Yes.
So they carried like a
exactly.
satchel, right?
Yes.
Nice. Now with the Morgan silver dollar too, what would you say, like that one you said is 1886. Now would somebody buy it more often than not for silver content, or would they buy it for the historical value? What's most common, do you think?
Morgans, every single one is worth more than silver value. That's what I tell everybody. I say these are like the poster child for coin collecting. Whenever anybody thinks about coin collecting, they think silver dollars. So every single one's pretty much worth more than silver value unless it's got a big old hole drilled in it or something like that. But there's a very large collector base for these. And the thing is, I always recommend to people who want to put away silver stuff, you're better off buying a Morgan silver dollar or a peace dollar, something like that, because if you just buy a straight bullion 1 ounce silver coin, that is directly tied to the silver market. If silver goes down, it drops completely. If silver goes up, it goes up. But this has collectible and numismatic value. So if silver goes down, it doesn't take the hit as much because the numismatic value outweighs the silver value.
See, to me, when I look at that, not only because I of course love silver,
Yes.
but that coin is 3 years after Jesse James was killed, the outlaw.
Yeah.
For those of you that like history, and it's 2 years before Jack the Ripper's murders in England, the Whitechapel murders, because that was in 1888.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that's awesome. I mean, you can think of it. That could have been in one of
Exactly.
their pockets. You know, well, maybe not the guy who passed away before that, but you know what I mean? Like people of that time.
I think of that all the time.
That's interesting.
I think of that all the time. And this was worth much more than $1 is today.
Oh, yeah.
What you could have bought with this back at that time was this was a lot of money at that time. So not many people had them. And it's just interesting to think how many people have held this coin, what they bought with it, you know. And
Well, even the one I think I showed you, the 1898, I always like that one because I think it's Bram Stoker or Stroker, wrote Dracula
Yes.
in 1898. And I have a coin of that year thinking he might have wrote it with that coin in his pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah, Stoker. I think it's Stoker. Actually.
Yeah.
I always get his last name wrong. But yeah, with Halloween around the corner, that's a good fact for people. 1898, that story was written.
Yeah.
Now, what else do you have there that you'd like to discuss? I know that one you said is a Rhode Island bill.
Yeah, this is actually a piece of colonial currency from Rhode Island. This is a $1 bill from 1776.
Wow.
And if you want to show
Yeah, sure.
them.
And so this is what people would have in their pockets back then.
Yeah. And that's
And that's something. So fragile, too. What kind of paper was it made out of?
This was about like cotton paper. Yeah, it's like the cotton paper, similar. But each one was hand signed by the secretary of the bank and numbered so that they knew it was real. And this was basically traded through the banks because at this time they were still trading a lot of coins because they thought that the paper was basically like a check to them. And the real money was the silver and the gold and the copper coins.
Now, let me ask you this. I don't know if you'd know this answer, but did people carry their money, like not coins, but bills in something else back then? And the reason why I ask is because people worked very hard.
Yeah.
When you sweat, that paper right there would be gone. It's not like a dollar
Well,
bill.
it was a lot nicer back then, but yeah.
That was stronger than today's bills?
Not stronger, but it was in a lot better condition. But this stuff would have mainly been like in the bank or in a billfold, and they used, at this point in time, they would have just either kept it aside or kept it in the bank.
Okay.
And
So
they would have carried around the
be
coins.
working it with,
yeah.
in their pocket, working on a railroad or something like that. Okay.
They would have carried.
I know
the
I'm a guy who
coins.
sweats a lot, and
Yeah.
my money would be a mess. It would be all ripped apart.
Yeah.
Now, you're also into diamonds, you said, right?
Yep, that was the second thing that I did after I got into the coin business. I started leaning more towards the jewelry business, and I got more into I went to school to become a gemologist, and that's what I really truly kind of fell in love with a little bit more.
Now, how long of training is that for that type of course?
It depends. I could continue to take classes now, but I'm a graduate gemologist to the point where I can certify and grade diamonds and do everything that I need to do. But I can go back to get a few more certificates in colored stones or stuff like that.
Now, if someone, let's say I was going to go buy a diamond, and I don't know anything about diamonds, what would be something I could look for? Let's say I wanted to get I don't know, 10 carat, that's a big one, right?
Oh yeah.
So let's say I wanted to get a 2 carat. Let's say.
Yeah.
What would I look for in a diamond to make sure I'm getting the highest quality?
Yeah, you would look for the 4 C's if you want to.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, you want to switch this up for that over there. Explain that. All right. So this is actually where I studied, and this is what you learn. The 4 C's of diamonds: carat weight, color grade, clarity grade, and cut grade. So the carat weight is just like he said, 2 carat. That would be the full weight of the stone. The color grade is how good the color is. And the clarity grade is if it has any imperfections inside of the stone. And the cut grade is how good the cut is on it, how symmetrical it is, and how good it is.
Now, would that be out of round if it isn't? Is that the terminology? Someone would say a diamond's out of round?
Well, it depends on the shape of the stone, because there's many different cuts. You could have the marquee, you could have a round, a princess cut, and they just keep going on and on with the different shapes that they do.
But for someone who's not an expert at this, they would have to take the classes that you took in order to walk right in and look at a diamond and know, right? How long would it take for someone to get to your level with that?
I've been doing this for years, almost 9 years now, so it would take, it's mainly experience. I've had a lot of experience looking at a lot of different stones and things of that nature, because that's one of the things you do when you go to that school. They try and show you as many stones, have you grade as many stones. They just want you to get the experience. And I kind of had an advantage because I was doing it before I went there to learn about that. But if you're going to a jewelry store and you want to make your first purchase of a stone, you want to go to someone who's very honest, and you would want to stick with certified stones. And if you're going to stick with certified stones, you want to go with some reputable companies such as the Gemological Institute of America, and that's pretty much the only one that's accepted.
Now, if you go with a certified stone, do you get a authenticity? Mm-hmm. You do get something.
You get everything. It tells you every little thing about the stone, the color, all the 4 C's, and it even shows you a picture of the imperfections and everything. And they even go as far, like you mentioned, the 10 carat stone. If you wanted to spend big money on something like that, you can even get a serial number laser inscribed in it to match the cert. If, God forbid, something happened to that stone, they would not be able to sell it anywhere else because the number's inscribed in it, and they can't get that out.
Let me ask you this. Let's say I had a 2 carat cubic zirconia, which is a knockoff, and I had a 2 carat diamond, and I was getting ready to buy it. There was no way I could pick it up and hold it to the light. The person I was buying it from maybe didn't want me to, and I'm just looking at it, and I didn't get to weigh it. How could I tell the difference being a regular person every day?
If you didn't get to weigh it, CZs do weigh more than the diamonds. But if you didn't get to, you want a white piece of paper, and you want to lay them both face down on the white piece of paper with the Q-lit, the pointy part facing up, table on the bottom. But like I said, a white piece of paper. Draw a line with a pen, like a black pen preferably, and you slide the diamond across. Diamonds are opaque. You can't see through them, so you will not be able to see that line once you pass the diamond over it.
Oh, wow.
When you slide the CZ over it, you will be able to see the line.
Wow, that's something, huh?
But also, when you're looking at them in the proper light, diamonds, they call the sparkle fire. When it has a lot of sparkle to it, they say that stone has a lot of fire to it, and it's a lot of reds and oranges and stuff like that. CZs have a lot more blues and purples and stuff like that.
That's what shows that it's fake.
Yeah.
Now here's a question. I don't know if this is a dumb question or not. If somebody shot some type of chemical in it to make the blues and the grays not show up, can that happen? Can somebody be that skilled to make a fake like that?
Not a CZ, but there is another stone called a moissanite. It is very similar, but it does have the blues and everything else. But the diamond tester, it'll ping it right away, and they're very easy to tell.
And what's the name of the test that they do?
It's there's two different tests. Since I've been doing the gem thing for a while, I have a very expensive Presidium gem tester, and it has every single stone possible because it can do colored stones as well, and it has a scale where it pings to what the stone is, and it looks like you have a little pen on the end of it with a very small tip, and you hold the stone and you touch the tip to it very lightly, which it actually transmits heat through, and it measures how quickly the heat transfers back, because diamonds transfer heat very good. So it does that, and it'll be able to tell you what the stone is based on how quickly the heat comes back.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many more minutes we have left? Still got 10 minutes. I have a lot. I wish we had an hour show. There's so much to talk about. Now let me ask you this: with diamonds, diamonds are made from charcoal, or is that a myth?
Carbon.
Carbon. Okay.
Carbon.
So out of a human, you could make a cadaver into a diamond.
Yeah.
Technically, right?
It would be tough. It might come out with a lot of imperfections, but it's possible because there are people who admitted that they can make synthetic diamonds up to about a quarter carat, which is fairly small, wouldn't really make a difference, but yeah, they can make them.
Out of a cadaver?
Yeah.
Wow, and that's something. Have you ever heard any cases of anybody doing anything that disgusting?
I know a couple of companies that offer that. They offer it, because you can inject stuff into the stones, and they offer that they will. They mainly do it with the black diamonds, which I always tell everybody, a black diamond in the world of gemology is considered a very flawed diamond. And it's technically, it is a diamond, but everybody else knows it as a different name. What do you get when you bat on Christmas?
When you bat on Christmas?
Bat on Christmas.
What?
Coal.
That's true.
That's all it is, polished coal.
So it is coal then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not coal you would use in your hibachi?
No.
Because I don't want people to be out there buying bags of coal, trying to crush it and everything, driving the car over it.
Yeah, pressurized high polished coal.
Oh.
Yeah.
So now when you take gemology is what you studied?
Mm-hmm.
Gemology, how close is that with geology since it's all stones? Do they cross over?
It's very similar, except you don't go as far into the stones, like out of the earth. It's mainly gemstones and stuff of that nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to, do you have anything else on diamonds, by the way, that you'd like to add?
No, not too much.
I'd like to get back on coins, because coins is kind of my thing. I love coins.
Yeah.
Like right here, we have the 1886 Morgan silver dollar. Just for me, looking at this one does not have a letter on the back.
Yeah.
If it did, the letter would be above the D, correct?
Above the O in dollar.
Oh yeah, right next to the D and the O.
Yeah, about the 6 o'clock position.
So if you're ever at a store and you're buying one of these Morgan silver dollars somewhere, if you spin it around where it says dollar, it's between the D and the O, you'll see a little letter, and that's the
mint mark.
The mint mark.
And back then they had a few more than we do now, not just Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. They actually did find a huge hoard of silver in Carson City, and that's one of the rarest mortgages you could get. All the Carson City ones are fairly rare because they were worried that the silver would get stolen on the way back, so they minted them into coins. And if you ever see one with the CCs on the back, those are all very big money.
Let me ask you this, like, I just want to put this out one more time for people out there. Can you give one more description of what to look for in every, because I know a lot of people only buy diamonds when they get married. Not everybody, but the common person. The common person doesn't run into bills like this or Morgan silver dollars, but they can purchase them. In your everyday change, what could you tell the public to look for on a daily basis so they can separate it and make a small collection or a large collection for themselves?
Well, if you're with the pennies, you want to look for the pre-59, which have the wheat airs on the back. You want to put those aside. Those are worth more than face value. And then with the quarters, dimes, and half dollars, you want to look for 1964 and before. And then with the half dollars, like I mentioned earlier, 1965 to 1970. Those are 40%. And then with the nickels, like you mentioned, you want to look for half of 1942 to 1945. And when you flip it on the reverse, you will see either a P, D, or an S above the Monticello building.
Nice. So that's an easy way. You guys can buy clothes like me if you want for $1, $1.50, sunglasses for $1, work out at home, drive an old vehicle and save you money. And if you're that frugal, I won't call it cheap, I'll call it frugal, and it's smart, and you can take 10 seconds of your time to look through your pocket change. Everything that Dylan told you today can make you a great deal of money.
Yes.
You just have to know what you're looking for. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we, how much time we have left there? 2 or 3 minutes? Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up here?
Not much. I appreciate you having me here.
No, I mean, I appreciate you coming on the show. To me, this is extremely interesting, and it's nice to see that you gave this information. People out there can look at their own change. And now be able to make a wise decision rather than go buy a candy bar when they could make $20. So, cool. Dylan, thank you very much for coming on the show today.
No problem.
I hope you come back again in the future.
Will do.
Well, that's episode 8 of the Jason J. Tavares Show for Right-Brained Entertainers. Had a fantastic guest here today discussing currency and the value of coins that are sitting right in your pocket that you may disregard if you don't take the time to look at them. Please tune in for the next episode. In October, the Halloween episode. It's going to be very creepy and scary. Actually, not that scary. But, writers, producers, directors, actors, dancers, singers, sculptors, anybody who's right-brained, like the brain that I had here today. I don't know if I have the time to put it together, but the right side of the head, that's who's welcome on this show. If you have something that's interesting and it's right-brained, outside the box, please let me know. I would love to have you as a guest. If you'd like to look me up, online, Jason J. Tavares. Books are on Amazon, films are on YouTube with the Jason J. Tavares Show, or you can just hit me up on Facebook. I'll see you soon.